Today we're going to be learning about one-step equations. We are going to be solving, and when you solve equations, it's when it has an equal sign. So what we were doing last week when it was an expression was just simplifying, but now we're moving on to solving. So let's get started. So number 1 says x plus 3 equals 7. What our goal is, our end goal, is to get x by itself. So we want to get everything away from x. So in order to do that, we need to move it to the other side. So what I like to do is I like to draw my line for the equal sign, because I want to move things from one side of the equal sign to the other. And in order to do that, we do what we call inverse operations. And inverse operations mean the opposite. So the opposite of adding is subtracting. The opposite of subtracting is adding. The opposite of multiplying is dividing. And the opposite of dividing is multiplying. So for this one, it's plus 3. So opposite of plus 3 would be minus 3. But if we do it to one side of the equal sign, we have to do it to both. Okay, plus 3 and minus 3 would equal 0, so they cancel out. And we're just left with x on that side. On the right side, you have 7 minus 3, which is 4. Once x is by itself, that's your answer. So x equals 4. Okay, let's try another one. Number 2. Negative 5 plus x equals 8. Okay, we look at the sign in front of the negative 5 right here. It's negative. So opposite of that would be adding 5 to both sides. So negative 5 plus 5 cancels, and you're left with x equals, well, what's 8 plus 5? 13. So once x is by itself, that's your answer. So x equals 13. Let's try some more. Alright, number 3, the 4 and the x are right next to each other with no sign in between, which means they are actually multiplying. And opposite of multiplying would be dividing. So again, I draw my line down here. So I want to divide by, and it's positive, so divide by positive 4. So I gotta divide both sides by positive 4. Well, 4 divided by 4 is 1, so that cancels. And you're left with x equals, what's negative 12 divided by 4? Negative 3. Now if you left this 1 here, that's okay. 1x and x are the exact same thing. X is still by itself, and that's your answer. Okay, number 4, you have negative x equals negative 7. This is kind of like when we were distributing a negative sign. It's really taking negative 1 times x. So when we divide, we actually have to divide by a negative 1 to both sides. So you get x equals, now negative 7 divided by negative 1 is positive 7. So that's your answer. Okay, one more. Alright, last one is dividing. So this is x divided by negative 6. Well, like we said, opposite of dividing is multiplying. So multiplying by negative 6. If I do it to one side of the equal sign, I have to multiply both sides by negative 6. Now make sure you keep your negative signs. Okay, negative 6 divided by negative 6 cancels. And you're just left with x over there. And 2 times negative 6 is negative 12. So that is one-step equations. We'll see you tomorrow.